Well, we have a trade to announce. It's a minor trade, people, but it's a trade nonetheless. We're going to break that down. The Atlanta Braves have acquired Lucas Licky, so we'll get into that, people. But first of all, I hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas, and let's get into it, guys. Hit the music, Tats. What is up, everybody? Happy holidays to everyone from the Pinstripe Chronicles. This is your host, Donald, and we've got my co-host, Tats. We got my brother from another mother, Rob. And so shout out to everybody here. Oh, look at this. We get the chat going early. Let's go. Let's go.
FJ, what's going on, Mazda?
FJ, good morning. Good morning, FJ. Happy holidays. Fortran Express. What is up, Uncle Tax?
Yeah.
Okay. Uncle Tats gets his shout out. What is up, Fortran Express? Okay, well, let's get into it. So there was we got Brad in the chat. What is up? And the king of the irrelevant facts, Donald. That's right. Absolutely. Any irrelevant fact, I will break that down for you. Okay, so let's get into it. So there was a minor trade that was done. It's not a big deal, but we'll get into it anyway. The Braves have acquired Lucas Licky for two minor leaguers. So the Yankees have acquired Indigo Diaz and Caleb Durbin. So Licky obviously posted ERAs under 3 while pitching in at least 50 games in each of the past 2 seasons for the Yankees. So he's been a very solid left-handed reliever for us. 4-4 with 2.67 ERA, 2 saves in 2022, 60 strikeouts, 57 innings. So he's been solid. So first of all, Rob, what are your thoughts on the trade itself? I mean, from my very first impressions, I would say that it saved us some money because I believe that he was due around about $8 million in arbitration. If we carried him into the year, probably saves us some room on the 40-man. A quick look at the guys that we brought in. Diaz was 3-4 with a 3.08 ERA and 4 saves in 49 games with Double-A Mississippi in 2022. Durbin hit just 241 and 105 games for the Braves Class A team. So, Rob, what are your initial thoughts on the trade?
The fact that we got anything for Lucas Licky, it was something that you can definitely tip your cap to Cashman because the dude hadn't pitched for like 5 years, and then we found him last year as a minor league contract, spring training invite. Was one of our most reliable relief pitchers the last couple of years. A little surprised they DFA'd him because we only have one lefty right now in the bullpen. I thought it would be Abreu, but we know from last year they love Abreu. But we got a couple of minor leaguers, cleared some 40-man space. We cleared a little bit of money. So I thank Lucas Licky for his time here because he was fantastic, in my opinion, considering dude hadn't pitched for 5 years. The fact that he was as good as he was, I liked him. I think he was underrated. And I think it's a good trade because you got something for a pitcher that no one would have even imagined you can get anything for. So it's a minor deal, something you see every offseason where a player gets DFA'd, you get something for him. And if any of these guys turn into something for us, great. If not, it's nothing that you can really look at and be like, Brian Cashman has no idea what he's doing or blah, blah, blah. It's a very minor trade, something that had to be done. But I am a little upset to see Licky go because I liked him.
Taz, what are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, my first thought was also aligned with Rob. I thought, at least we were getting something back for him, and not just losing him altogether. It is a money save, but the downside of it is you did lose a reliable lefty out of your bullpen. I think that's going to be the downside of it, if there is one, because now you're putting all the pressure up from the lefty side of the mound on Peralta. And so if there's good, they needed to make the room on the 40-man, so because there are going to be more moves. There's going to be promotions in the organization for a lot of these minor leaguers that are playing well. So it does leave room to bring up one more person now that he's officially off the 40-man. because these guys are going to be they're single A, double A players. I don't expect a lot from them. I don't think we're going to hear from any of them anytime soon. They're just to rebuild and refresh the organization in the minor league camps.
I am expecting a little bit of movement now. I think we do need to free up some more room on the 40-man, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more minor deals along the way from here on out before our major trade for a left fielder. I do believe that we will acquire a left fielder via trade. I do think that. I think that's more likely than free agency. Although I've heard Jurix and Profar's name being kind of banded around here and there in some circles, but I really think that it's going to be a trade that we make. Hopefully Reynolds, please. That would be amazing. That would be freaking amazing. So what we were going to discuss today, so we've obviously covered the minor trade. The main topic of discussion today, we're going to get into Gleyber Torres. How is he going to fit in the infield alignment right now? Is he going to be used as a trade piece? And for Train Express is on our wavelength. I think Torres is worth moving, but for the right package. I agree with him. So, Tats, what are your thoughts, man? What's Gleyber Torres' immediate future with the New York Yankees?
My gut reaction is he's going to start the year with the Yankees. I think that if he does get moved, it would be more near the trade deadline than what I was thinking about it. I don't think it's going to be an off-season move, only because we don't have the certainty with LeMahieu's health. So I think it would be negligible for the Yankees to move him now and put a lot of pressure, too much pressure on the young guys getting called up that may need just a little extra seasoning with veteran guys around them.
Rob?
I don't want to trade him unless, like Ford Train Express says, I wouldn't trade him unless you're getting the right move, the right package back for him. And I don't see that there's a player out there right now that realistically we could get that would involve Gleyber Torres. Because I don't think the Pirates would take him in a trade for Brian Reynolds. It just wouldn't make financial sense for them to take on more money for a player who a lot of people would say is not as good as Brian Reynolds. So
that's true. That's a good point.
Maybe if you can try to get creative, as Brian Cashman likes to say, we know the Twins are looking for pitching. They'd be willing to include Torres in a trade for a pitcher. Do we have that guy right now? Is Montas better than anybody on their rotation? Maybe, if they're looking for an upgrade. Can we have a Montas, Torres, and somebody else, maybe a couple of prospects, and we get Kepler and Torres? Torres would be a more contact-oriented bat in the lineup. We get the outfielder that we need. Not as good of an outfielder as Brian Reynolds, but it's something. That's something you can try to do. But for now, there really isn't that significant upgrade that we can get to the lineup that would cost you Gleyber Torres. And Gleyber was our third best player last year. I don't understand all this hate he's getting all of a sudden. Like, there are people that legitimately don't like the guy, thinking he's not very good. He's played 4 real major league seasons. 2020 was a 40-game, 60-game, whatever you want to call it, and he was bad that year. But even 2021, his offensive numbers were still like top 5 on the team, top 4 on the team. He was just really bad defensively, and last year he bounced back in a major way. He's a good player. He's our third best player last season, and people are just like, trade him. For what, though? Like, people say, go get a bullpen arm. Why? We need an offseason where we need offense. You want to trade him for a bullpen arm? It doesn't make sense to me. The hate that he's getting, to me, is very unwarranted, and I don't think they should trade him unless you're getting something guaranteed that's going to help you back for him. If you want to replace his so-called power bat with the contact bat, sure, but to me, there's not that player out there that would upgrade second base, because we don't have as many infielders as we have. We don't really have the certainty, like Tats mentioned, with LeMahieu's injury. Donaldson stinks. I don't want IKF playing almost every day, and you don't know what Peraza and Volpe are going to be. When's Volpe going to be ready? And Peraza is going to be your shortstop. You need the second baseman. Torres was very good last year there defensively. I'd keep him.
Yeah, Rob, what did you think of Fortune Express's comment here? I think the Torres will be moved for another reliever. So it's basically kind of what you've been saying, that you don't want that to happen.
I saw someone mention Liam Hendricks. I don't see why we would trade. Again, everyone's screaming, the Yankees need offense, the Yankees need offense, the Yankees need offense. So you're going to give away your third best player from last season for a relief pitcher when our bullpen is already really good. I like Hendricks, but I wouldn't do that trade. I don't think we need another relief pitcher, and it's not worth trading Torres for a relief pitcher.
If Castro tells Volpe has a chance to win the job, then either Peraza or Torres has to move. So this Rob brings up a couple of interesting points because this Torres thing is not cut and dry. I do want a return for Gleyber Torres. He didn't have a bad year last year. That by no stretch of the imagination did he have a bad year. A couple of factors, though, make me think that he should be traded sooner rather than later. First of all, do I really want to sign him to an extension? No. Second of all, his IQ is quite low. Like we saw a bunch of scenarios where he made the wrong play, and that's just something that you can't really teach. He's just got a low baseball IQ. He's got all the talent in the world, but his IQ is low. And Brad's on my wavelength here. Torres has no baseball IQ. Yeah. I think what happened with Gleyber Torres is he was having a resurgent year, and then we got to the deadline, and then he heard that his name was being used in trade talks with the Marlins. And then after that, Gleyber Torres fell off completely. He was just off, and he was just dreadful right after the trade deadline, right through August, right through September. And then he kind of got himself together prior to the season ending. But for that long stretch, he was just terrible. So I'm not sure about his mentality there, because you need to be stronger mentally to deal with trade talks, because your name's always going to be banded around unless you're one of the elite players on the team. But to Rob's point, he was probably our top 4 best player offensively. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So it's not a case where I want him to be traded for anything. I don't think that trading him for a fifth starter or like a reliever of some sort actually helps us. If it's an automatic bona fide closer, I'd consider it. But you can turn one of our relievers into a closer as well. I'm not necessarily sold on Holmes to be a closer, but it's a tough call. I mean, ideally, I'd love to move him for a Reynolds, but as you say, the money doesn't match up. Tass, what are your thoughts?
Well, I don't. Real quick on what you were saying about with the Pirates trade, they don't need an infielder. They have their infield. It's that's why they're looking more for the pitching prospects. So they're not. They're definitely, if they're not going to take any of our prospects in the infield, if that's not going to fit their system, what makes us think that Torres will? So the Pirates would be completely off the board as far as trading an infielder. So now you're looking elsewhere. Is it going to be with the Twins? And Mazza brought it up in one of his other comments where he went into a little more detail, where for somebody like Soto, is that and with Kepler. So it's one of
I want nothing to do with Kepler. I completely agree. Fortrain. I certainly don't want. I heard his name being banded around for Kepler. If we trade Torres for Kepler, I think that would be very upset, because Torres is a better player than Kepler.
And Torres is also a victim to the Yankee philosophy, where they could, no matter how well they're playing, they think that if they tweak one thing, it'll make them better. We saw them do it with Sanchez, where they just completely kept changing his approach and his techniques over and over again. They also were doing it not as drastically with Sanchez, but with Torres, adjusting his stance and not giving him, moving him to shortstop where he was not comfortable until he was completely beaten down. Then they moved him when it was too late back to second base. So I think that's what also screwed him up, and that's what hurts his baseball IQ. Is he was lost, but I still think there's a lot of room for him to grow and be the player he was expected to be.
I just don't know how much more growth he's gonna do, man. I mean, he's not a spring chicken anymore. I mean, It's
No,
just
that might be on another team.
his work
Doesn't
rate.
necessarily have to be the
I
Yankees.
don't love his work ethic. I don't love that he, for a long stretches, just dogs it out to first base. Again, these things are just inherent. I think he's got all the talent in the world. I just don't think that he has that unbridled desire to win. I think that he's just a good player, and I think he's comfortable with that. But there's some really good stuff going on in the chat here. There's kind of a debate here, and there's some really good points being brought up. So let's fire through some of these comments. Fortrain, what if you put Perez at short, Volpe at second? That way you can move Torres. I like that idea. I really do. Brad, the possibility of Volpe and Perez making the team in a spring training will make Torres expendable. Completely agree. The problem for Train, this is from FJ, is that Cash seems determined to put Volpe at shortstop. I actually think that. I've heard that too. Okay, Brad, Glaber comes to bat after pitcher throws 4 straight balls. He swings at the first pitch, and either hits in a double play or a fly out, ground out. Yeah, it is annoying. Let's just put that nicely. FJ, Fortune Express, Cash made a call to Volpe and told him specifically that he could win the shortstop job. Then what if they put Volpe at short, Perez at second? The trade value website says Kepler is worth Herman and Everson Pereira. Really? I like Everson Pereira. I went to some of the minor league games in the summer, and from what I saw of Everson Pereira, I think he's got a really nice swing. He strikes out a little bit too much, but I think he's got a really nice swing, and I'd be very interested in him moving forward. I wouldn't jump at trading him for Kepler, who I am not a fan of Kepler by any stretch of the imagination. I would look at anybody else but Max Kepler, really. But yes, we've got a little bit delayed debate here between Volpe, Peraza, where they're going to be fitting. First of all, I think that the Yankees are going to not have Volpe come out of camp unless he just completely goes nuts out of camp, like bats 400. Because I think Brian Cashman wants that extra year of control. So I can see Volpe being brought up around about May, June. I think that could very well happen. As for where the alignment is, I'm a big Peraza guy. From what I saw him at shortstop, he was so smooth. Everything was just so smooth and effortless for Peraza. He just oozes defensive ability. And I want to see that at short, in my opinion. I think Volpe can be moved to another position in the infield. But yes, I think Cashman is locked in on Volpe at shortstop, which is why we didn't really see much of Peraza at shortstop. They were trying to put him in at second base. They were just kind of making him a utility guy. Their heart is very much set on Volpe being the shortstop of the future, I think. You could just tell by the way that the Yankees operated. Because if they were really locked in on Peraza being the shortstop of the future, I think you would have seen him play more at short. What are your thoughts, Rob?
I believe that they want Volpe at shortstop, but here's my problem is if Peraza makes the team, which he should, out of the spring and plays a shortstop and plays really well, by the time Volpe comes up, are you going to want to move him? That's why I think Volpe is better off in the spring. They can experiment with him at second base and third base and shortstop. He's got a great arm. I think he can play third. I also think Peraza can play third. So maybe they use the spring as a kind of experiment for these guys because they played different positions in the minor leagues. They have to figure it out because they're not trading them. At this point, they're not trading these guys. So you got to figure out where they're playing. Ideally, one's at short, one's at second, but you don't know what's going to happen at third base past this year. Is it LeMahieu's job with all the injuries? You don't really know. You're going to need a third baseman at some point. Will they go in for Devers next offseason? That's another debate. But at some point, you got to figure out where you're going to play all these guys if you're not going to move them. So one's got to be shortstop, one's got to be second base. I think Peraza is the better shortstop because he's already shown it.
I do.
But I also think Volpe is very good.
No, yeah, 100%. Tats?
I think we actually have the perfect, trifecta of players for the infield because between Peraza, Volpe, and Cabrera, you have very interchangeable parts to get the older guys a day off. You can move them around because that's what they're getting these players used to in the minor leagues is the shuffling around in the infield in certain games, depending on matchups and stuff like that. So I think that as much as we want to just have one person play one position, the way that these players are being trained now in the minor leagues, they are very interchangeable. So you may have just, those three guys can play, all four positions on the infield. You can play, from third, short, second, first. I think they're going to be those type of players.
I think Ozzy will. I don't think Volpe and Peraza will. I think Volpe and Peraza, they're going to have more of a set plan for. I think they like that Ozzy can provide that versatility. I think moving forward, you're going to see him in that versatile role where he's not locked into a particular position because he can play the outfield. He can play several positions in the infield, I think, but he doesn't play positions in the infield at an elite level. Like he played a little bit of shortstop. He was okay. He was better than IKF, but not particularly like outstanding. He didn't seem natural there. Third, I think he has room to grow there. I think he could be pretty good at third. He looks really nice at right field. I think he was tremendous in right field. Left field, it's a little bit different the way the ball comes to you as opposed to as it does if it comes to you in right field. His footwork needs to improve in left, but he has room to grow in the left field as well. But there's a lot of positions that he can play. I think Peraza and Volpe, they were going to be sticking very much at second and short with these guys, whichever one comes out. But it really does look like Volpe is their shortstop moving forward because it's just Fortune Express is a very good point here, and this is exactly what the Yankees have done. The Yankees passed up on 8 top-tier shortstops over the past 2 offseasons because they have that high on Volpe. Volpe will be our shortstop. I'm pretty sure of that. Cashman's ego wouldn't allow Peraza to play a shortstop over IKF. That was just driving me nuts. It just didn't make any sense, especially midway through the year. IKF was having a horrifying year at shortstop, but the Yankees kept gaslighting us that he was a phenomenal shortstop. He was the next Derek Jeter, the greatest shortstop in baseball. That was just a cover to allow them to continue this plan because Volpe is very much the plan for the future as shortstop. I mean, you even saw in the playoffs, Peraza had the best play I've seen to anybody at shortstop that season, that whole season, in his first game playing shortstop in the playoffs. And then the next game, he wasn't playing shortstop. So it tells you that he's not their shortstop moving forward, which is a shame because I think he's a incredible shortstop, and I think he's got so much ability. But I think they kind of like him playing second base moving forward.
I could see him at third, though, because the fact that they used him at multiple positions, it makes me think that they're going to try him out at second and third as well. Because we've already discussed it, and Fortrain said it. You passed up on all those free agents. You had a chance at Seager last year, Correa last year, Simeon. You had a chance at Correa again this year, Trey Turner. The list goes on and on. They want Volpe at shortstop. They want that Yankee fan. He wants to be a Yankee. That's all he's ever dreamed of. They want that Derek Jeter story for this era. That's what they want. And Volpe fits that bill. And Michael Kay said it the other day, which someone brought it up in the comments about Cashman calling him saying, you can make the team out of the spring. It probably won't happen, but they want that dude that's going to work for it. And he's got that Jeter-like mentality that he's going to do. He's going to stop at nothing to get that job. So that's what the fans want. So I'm all in on Volpe. If that's their plan for shortstop, great. But find a position for Peraza because he's too damn good to say, well, we'll let him tinker in the minor leagues or we'll try to dangle him in some trade talks. Unless you're getting Reynolds, he's got to be somewhere on this roster. So if you want to put him at second to start the season, then you got to move Glaber now. But if you want to try him at third base, this way Donaldson doesn't have to play every day, they can try that because he's got a hell of an arm too. I think he can play third just fine. They got to figure something out. They can't give Peraza the job out of the spring and then move him the second Volpe comes up because it won't be fair to Peraza. They got to figure something out, and I think they will because for the first time in a while, I'm a little confident that they want to figure it out with these guys. At the very least, they're not trading their top 3 prospects. They got a plan for them.
I agree. I think there is a plan forming for them. IKF played better at third than he did at short, according to Brad. Well, absolutely, because IKF is a third baseman. Naturally, he's a Gold Glove third baseman. He was never a good shortstop.
No.
But the Yankees tried to do what they did with Gleyber Torres, and it just failed spectacularly. LI Yankee Kings joined the chat.
Oh, boy.
Brace yourself. My lineup in 2023 would be third base Volpe, left field Estevan Florial, second base Gleyber Torres, DH. Did he just say DH Aaron Judge?
Yep.
Tell me that's a typo. First base Rizzo, catcher Trevino, center field Harrison Bader, right field Eddie Rosario. Are you trolling us, Li?
Li, you're telling me, please, because his next comment, he's trading Stanton, Donaldson, DJ, and Hicks. So he's pulling off the impossible there. You just signed Aaron Judge to a 9-year, $40 million a year contract, by the way, Li. And you're going to take a Gold Glove winning right fielder, Gold Glove caliber right fielder, because I don't think he's won it because he played two different positions. He can play Gold Glove defense in center and right. And you're going to DH him for Eddie Rosario, Li. And then you got Florial back in there again. So I see you're still on that, but oh my goodness gracious.
I just don't see the whole infatuation with trying to trade Stanton. I really don't.
More bollocks out of LI as usual. Dude, why are you playing Aaron Judge, your Gold Glove right fielder / phenomenal center fielder at DH? Are you trolling us, man? Why would you sign Aaron Judge to a 9-year, $380 million contract to be a DH? Are you out of your mind?
No, he's trying to justify it with making the DH a versatile position, but they're already saying they're going to put Stanton in right field more often in Yankee Stadium, and they're going to have him play left on the road because they just don't want him having tracking that much ground at home in Yankee Stadium in left field. They've already said that. The DH is going to be that position this year because they want to give LeMahieu rest. They're going to have to. They're going to want to give Rizzo rest. They're going to want to give Judge rest. LI, you are not trading Giancarlo Stanton. He's got a no-trade clause.
No.
Come on, man.
Eddie Rosario.
But, when he brings up Hicks and Donaldson, that's everybody wants him gone. And that's not even just for the, just for the sake of just getting rid of him, and I mean, believe me, I admire your creativity, but this is, believe, and I would love to see Florial get a fair shot, but we know that's not going to happen. They're done with him because once they bring him up, he has no options. They would have to just release him at that point, and you get nothing out of him. But
first of all, Rosario is a more natural left fielder. And he bat .212 last year. You want him to play every day?
He had a 62 weighted runs created plus and a negative WAR, and that's your right fielder. And you're going to laugh at me in the comments, Li, for Stanton playing right field when your right fielder is Eddie Rosario?
He's not even a right fielder, Eddie Rosario.
So, Steve, how is everything going? Well, yeah, you're right. I think,
Oh my God, Eli. Right field. Stanton is a natural right fielder. He was. That's why he can play good left. He's played fine at left field too. It's just injuries with him.
Eli, you are gonna laugh, but you literally are about to trade 6 players for Jeter Downs in one of your threads the other day. So I don't think you should be laughing at anybody with some of those trade proposals you put out there, my man. Plus you got Florial in left field again. So if you're gonna oh boy, Judge DH.
So he has Rosario is only a stopgap for Dominguez. We don't need a stopgap in the outfield. We have the outfielders. So I wouldn't be getting rid of Stanton, who can still play the outfield. I'm sorry. We have seen the improvement of his bat the more he gets play time on the field. We watched it. We all watched the games. He is more than capable of playing the outfield. Stop with this freaking bubble wrap shit around him and just let him play the game that he knows how to play.
Yeah. If anything, Stanton actually plays better when he plays the outfield.
That's
the statistics back that up. He's a much better player when he's part of the game. Taz?
No, that's what I'm saying. He's at bat. He's more concentrated at the plate when he's getting the time on the field because you're engaged in the game, not just sitting around. That's probably why he's getting hurt as much as he is. It's because he's sitting around the whole freaking game waiting with a bat in his hand rather than keeping himself loose.
I think they know that, but when you think about his injury just flared up out of nowhere last year after the All-Star game, they kind of had no choice. But before the injury, he was playing in the outfield every so often. He was doing just fine. He was having a hell of a season. He accidentally hit 30 home runs last year. And that was being hurt. So they know how important he is healthy. Aaron Boone has already mentioned they want him in the outfield more often. He doesn't need to be out there every day because you have a Gold Glove, one of the best, if not the best defensive center fielders in Bader. Aaron Judge is Aaron freaking Judge. And they need to figure out left field. So even if it's Hicks and Cabrera rotating, fine, I guess. I don't want it, but the fact that you brought up Eddie Rosario and then are laughing about Stanton being in the outfield just to be a stopgap. If that's the case, then you might as well take Max Kepler. If you want a stopgap, at least Kepler didn't have a negative WAR last year.
LA Yankee King going a little bit interesting here, as usual. When we traded for Stanton, we should have moved him to first base.
Oh, no.
I don't like – first of all, I don't like my first baseman not batting from the left side. I like my first baseman that can field side. So I don't think Stanton would have been a good first baseman. And luckily, we have a Gold Glove first baseman right now, so it's kind of a moot point.
He was hurt after the All-Star game, not because he's playing in the outfield.
Now I gotta stop playing this show. Could you imagine? I wouldn't even move Stanton to play first base on MLB The Show.
Every time Stanton plays the outfield, he gets hurt.
That's not necessarily true.
No, but that goes to the point where we're saying he should be playing more in the outfield so he stays loose. So he's not getting hurt all the goddamn time.
That was a proven fact in 2021.
Season, he's still hitting 30 bombs for us. He's still performing in the postseason where not everybody's getting a goddamn hit, but Judge is stepping up to the plate. He's handling his business. Where's everybody else behind Stanton putting the bat on the ball in the postseason? Why are we only losing by 1 or 2 runs? It's not because of Stanton.
Not all outfielders can play first base. Remember when the Yankees tried with Gary Sheffield? It's a great point. This is why this needs to stop, first of all. This idea that you can just shove anybody into first base and they're going to be fine is like false. I can't even put it into words how false that is. You want a premier first baseman because you want to save your infield a ton of errors. You want to be a plus first baseman. That's the difference why we have Anthony Rizzo now, because we had a barren run there at first base where we didn't really know who was going to be our first baseman for a couple of years, and we sucked. Now we've got Anthony Rizzo, who's a plus first baseman, and we look like a decent ball club again. You need a premier first baseman, so you can't just be moving people over there going, you know what, let's just try him out over there. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm done with that. That has to stop.
Could you imagine if Rizzo was on the market and we passed up on Rizzo because we had Stanton at first base, what this fan base reaction would be?
Well, LI to be thrilled. So his idea is trading 2 of our better players in DJ and Stanton just to save money. But like, who's replacing them in your lineup? Eddie Rosario is your replacement for him. Think about that. You want offense? That's not your. That's your best choice. Is Eddie Rosario? Trade Stanton to the. He has to accept the trade first.
He's not leaving. He has no interest in leaving this organization. He really enjoys playing here. So they have.
And I don't want to move him.
No, I think he's doing just fine.
When he plays in the playoffs, he's really freaking good.
He's carried us twice in his Yankee career so far. 2018, we don't get there without Stanton being there, and he carried us. And then 2021, he carried us literally on his back to and through the playoffs. It was the Giancarlo Stanton show. And you're trying to trade him and replace him with Aaron Judge essentially, and then have Eddie freaking Rosario and Esteban Florial in the corners of your outfield. I'm sorry, Li. I like talking baseball, and I just like to think that you're not that much of a hater of Stanton. But why would you think that makes a team any better?
Yeah, I think Li needs to go to the naughty step for the next few minutes. So let's not completely distract this show with crazy trades and Stanton moving to first base and Stanton moving to the mutts. Let's just move on and get back to where we were talking. What is going on with this DJ LeMahieu stuff? Because from what I hear, DJ's injuries getting better. Well, according to Aaron Boone, so he looks like he's getting better. He doesn't look like he needs surgery, which is a godsend for us. I really want DJ LeMahieu to have an everyday role at third base. So my idea would be just get rid of Donaldson for anything. And other, I don't really care. A packet of peanut M&Ms would just be beautiful. I really don't care what we trade for Donaldson, even if we have to eat half the money. Just get him out, and then that frees up a ton of room for us to have LeMahieu play third, Ozzie can play third, IKF can play third, and I don't think it'll be that much of a downgrade from Donaldson at third base. So, what are your thoughts on that? We'll start with Tats.
I'm actually in the thought of are we going to get when LeMahieu's back on the field? How productive is he going to be coming off of it? Because he's going to have a little rust on him. He's not as young as when we first got him. It's been a few years, so I would not want to really put him in an everyday role right off the bat. I'd rather have him as that utility guy that he was supposed to, that he was really shaping out to be, and match him with Cabrera. You'll have something.
I have to say, this is too good. DJ LeMahieu playing third is not a good idea. Fortrain, you're not a good idea.
DJ is going to be here whether LA Yankee King wants him here or not. Why people don't like him again? Like he's their prototypical, at least from what we have, contact hitter.
Mm-hmm.
And he was having a fine year last year. Don't let anybody fool you, LI. He was having a fine year last year until that toe injury because he was one of our more consistent hitters. He was looking like the DJ, not of 2020, but at least more like 2019 DJ, where he was hitting line drives, he was going gap to gap, and he wasn't hitting the ball on the ground like he was in 2021. He was fine, and then he got hurt. If we can get him, and that's why that infield rotation is going to come back into play this year, where you see Torres take a day and LeMahieu plays and so on and so forth. That's where having these versatile guys like Tats mentioned earlier is going to help. A guy like Cabrera is going to help. IKF, who can play multiple positions, is going to help because they're not going to go away from their regular season philosophy where they're going to give guys rest. They're just not going to go away from that. They've already said it. DJ fits into that mold. If you can give him some days off here and there, DH him, not Aaron Judge, and great. You can keep him from having to put too much on that toe. But if he's good to go, he's immediately one of our better players, despite what you might think, LI. So we're not trading him either. So you got to get that out of your head. He's not going anywhere. And when he's healthy, he proved it last year. He proved it the 2 years before that. And even 2021, he's still one of our better players. And we need him. Because you need contact, especially if you're going to win in the playoffs. And I've said it, I don't think we beat Houston if he was healthy, but we'd at least take one a game or 2 games against them had we had a healthy lineup last year in the ALCS. DJ LeMahieu makes a difference.
Yeah, so Brad's saying is out what I believe. DJ is doing better, and he's expected to be ready for opening day. That's really good news for us. Steve, guys, let's stop talking about LI silly comments. You're right, Steve. It has gotten distracting, so we're trying to get back on track. But still, we do appreciate LI's support and coming on, and even if he does have some nutty trade ideas, I don't understand how the fan base has moved so the opposite direction on DJ LeMahieu. it's almost like they've completely forgotten that he was an MVP candidate his first 2 years, that he was a Yankee. He almost bat 400 in his second year as a Yankee. And that's just, you guys want to readily just get rid of that? Trust me, the rest of baseball respect DJ LeMahieu as an elite hitter. He is an elite hitter. I know he's been hurt, but he is an elite contact hitter. He is actually probably our best, other than Aaron Judge, he's our best all-around hitter. If there's someone that I want in a clutch spot, it's LeMahieu, Stanton, and Aaron Judge. Apart from that, maybe Rizzo. That's really it. So why would you want to move off DJ LeMahieu? DJ LeMahieu can play a bunch of positions. He can play first well. He can play second well. He can play third base well. He's an elite contact hitter. You can put him up at the top. And this team is, when he was hurt, our team sucked. And when he was hurt, and he wasn't able to fully swing like he normally can because his foot injury was inhibiting him to drive through the ball, we sucked. But when he was fully healthy, we were winning games. That's not an accident. It really isn't. So I really want to see Aaron. I really want to see DJ LeMahieu get every day at bats. And I think third base makes the most sense, because you want Volpe and you want Peraza to play maybe second and short. I think third base makes sense for him. I really want to get rid of Josh Donaldson. He's nothing but distraction. He was a distraction last year. He's declining offensively. He's good defensively, but as I say, you move him off, and IKF can play third. You've got LeMahieu that can play third, and you've got Ozzie can play third, and they all play at a very decent level. So we're not going to really miss Donaldson's defense. That's why I'd eat half his salary, 3/4 of his salary, whatever it takes, get him the hell out of town, and that kind of solves our infield problem.
No, you're absolutely right. Everything you said there is spot on. So the hate that he's getting from the fan base after we were all screaming to re-sign him, blank check, we need him back, and now you want him gone. Or some people want him gone, but he's going to be here. He's going to be in the top of the lineup when he's out there, and he's going to produce when he's on the field. That's just a fact.
See, there's one comment here from LI I kind of agree with. I'm not completely.
No. We're moving off from the LI chat for now. No. He's on the naughty step. He is on the naughty step.
Tats,
what is your infield alignment?
Be better than LeMahieu. I think that with the proper amount of play time, you may see those guys be a better contact hitter and fielder than LeMahieu. That's possible. We're not trying to act like LeMahieu is the savior amongst everybody. But he is still a valuable part to this lineup and this infield alignment. You need to hold on to players like that. So they might even be better at their positions with somebody that they could watch, as LeMahieu can mold these guys into being better fielders at multiple positions. So now you're increasing LeMahieu's value in an organization.
Tats, what is your infield alignment? Who do you move?
Donaldson's got to, I would have LeMahieu at third. I would have Peraza at short, Volpe at second, and Rizzo at first. That would be my infield if I had the decision for opening day.
I would agree with that. That's my infield alignment as well. Rob?
For opening day, LeMahieu at third if he's ready, Peraza at short, Torres at second, Rizzo at first.
Yeah. All makes sense. Fortune Express, we need LeMahieu. So what are you guys' thoughts on this left field situation to touch on before we head off? Is there anyone that really kind of jumps out at you in free agency right now? Like, what are your thoughts on Profar?
There really isn't anybody on the free agent. It really there's not enough that jumps out saying that is there's your go-to. I don't see it.
No, there's nobody. The only guy that you can say that was Benintendi. He was the only one that was like, he fits what we need. and they didn't want to go to the 5th year. I don't really blame them for that because they want Dominguez up sooner than later, but the only route they can go right now is trade. And if they ain't getting Brian Reynolds, I'm just letting everybody know now it's not going to be players that people want because people want either Reynolds or they want McCarthy from the Diamondbacks. They might go cheap. Does Ian Happ become available? If that's the case, go get him because I would love him on this team, but they're going to have to try to find someone that can give them some pop. Some people have brought up Austin Meadows from Detroit. That'd be fine. If he's healthy, that guy can hit 30 in our stadium, but it's going to have to be one of those players that nobody sees coming, even though Kepler is a guy that's been talked about. He might be the only choice right now out of all the players that people think are available. It might be him because they have a surplus. We have a surplus. Would they take IKF in a Domingo Germán form? Maybe, but it's not going to be someone people like. That much I can tell you, unless they're working on that something that's big that they were talking about before Rodon signed. I don't see who's out there right now that's going to make a significant impact.
I want Reynolds. Nobody in free agency stands out. And I've said it time and time again. At the end of the day, Reynolds will be a Yankee. I have the confidence, too. I do think Reynolds will end up being a Yankee. I just don't know when. Will the Yankees go for a stopgap left field situation and then trade for Reynolds at the deadline? That might be something that they're more open to doing. But the Yankees have to give to get. And the Yankees, again, need to remember that when you sign a Rodon and then you sign an Aaron Judge to the kind of money, then you re-sign Anthony Rizzo, you are trying to win. So you're going to have to give up some top prospects to get Reynolds then. Because if you got guys in their prime who are trying to win, like a Garrett Cole, Aaron Judge, Rizzo, LeMahieu, you name it, Stanton. These dudes are in their prime. They want to win. They're going to try and win you a title. Then you need to go and get that left fielder that can help you win that title. So I wouldn't skimp out and just go and settle for a Kepler when Reynolds is sitting there. If that means that we have to give up a couple of our top prospects, which we don't want to give up, so be it. The thing is, the Pirates really want starting pitching, and we can give them starting pitching. We have about 7 guys for our 5-man rotation. So I think we can trade a couple of our starters that are in the periphery of our 5-man spot. So like Germán, Clark Schmidt.
Yeah.
We also have a bunch of guys like a Will Warren. They can be added into that trade mix. A Pereira, a Dominguez. I would definitely give up Dominguez in order to get a Reynolds because you'd want a Dominguez to be close to what Reynolds is. So why not just go and get the sure thing? And Reynolds, plus Reynolds is younger, he's cheap, he's young, he's cheap, and we've got control of him for about 3 or 4 years. It's a no-brainer. We have to do it. I don't really care if it takes 4 Train Express, Schmidt, Dominguez, Gill, Germán, Warren, Reynolds. Exactly 4 Train. You're definitely on my wavelength with that. What kind of trade package would you think of, Rob?
It's going to take a lot more than that. Because I know he's on the naughty list right now, but he makes a great point. Look at what the Diamondbacks just got for Dalton Varsho. And we can all agree that Brian Reynolds is better than Dalton Varsho. They got the Blue Jays' #1 prospect, the guy that's projected to be a top 10 prospect in baseball, for Dalton Varsho, who is a Gallo-like player, high strikeout rate and a lot of pop. It took the #1 prospect of the Blue Jays and a major league ready player in a good major league ready player in Gurriel to get him. What do you think it's going to take to get Reynolds? So we don't have the premier pitching prospect. Luis Gil's hurt. Will Warren, all these other guys that we have are good, decent pitching prospects. They're not that elite guy. Domingo Germán is a 30-year-old with 2 years of control who's coming off of a good 2-month stretch. He's not that elite pitching player that teams are going to give you their best for. We don't have what the Pirates want, so we're going to have to make up for that with elite position players. They have enough infielders in their system. They have plenty of young infielders in their system. Why would they want more? and give away their best player. I just don't think we match up right now. Will the asking price come down? Yeah, but LI has a point. They don't have to trade him yet unless someone blows them away. And the Yankees don't have that pitching prospect like the Dodgers do, like Bobby Miller, that's going to blow them away.
This is a possibility. We could always do a 3-team deal to get the deal done. This is where Gleyber Torres could come into play. If we traded Gleyber for some younger, cheaper, more controllable guys that could be added to a package for Reynolds, then that would make sense too. I think that would be a smart way of maneuvering it. That's a very good point.
I think that's what's kind of keeping this, this topic alive and interesting, is all the different variables that can come into play with it. Because part of the other reality is if we do trade, we're all clamoring, we want Reynolds. Well, that trade is going to hurt. The players involved in that trade are going to be players that we've been hoping to see that we won't see in the pinstripes. So that's what we also have to be very wary of. How much of our stock do we want to put in Reynolds as far as our trade route, who we trade? So that's the other part of it that gets interesting.
And it could hurt your immediate future as well because, you'll have a left fielder, but then it's going to cost you Peraza at least. So who's your shortstop? Because I don't know if Volpe's ready out of the spring. And then guess who's there? Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is right back where he left him in shortstop. So you got to think about that. It's going to hurt, like you just said. The trade for Reynolds is going to cost you a lot because we don't have what the Pirates want right now. Are people ready to accept that? I don't know if I give them that right now because even though I really like Brian Reynolds, I don't want to give them Peraza, who's going to be my shortstop. I don't want to give them 4 or 5 prospects for one player because that's a Juan Soto type package, and I don't think Brian Reynolds is Juan Soto. That's why I was willing to do it for Soto, but he's not available anymore. I just don't know if right now you should do that when you don't know who your shortstop is. If Volpe's ready, great. But they already said they don't want to trade these guys.
Well, the Yankees already had their window to push all their chips in the center of the table on Soto, and they passed up on it. So, why give up? Why wouldn't they trade for the full house? Why would they wait for a 3 of a kind? So the Yankees, they already missed the mark on cashing in on some of these top prospects for a player that could have been an immediate impact in the season, especially going into the postseason with Juan Soto. They passed on him. Who knows what we're going to get now, out of Reynolds?
Well, I think Reynolds will be fine in left field. I'm not saying he's going to be a bad player or anything.
No, that's not what I was trying to. So before I made my point worse, I just stopped.
All right.
Eli's on the naughty step, but he's saying here a Brian Reynolds trade doesn't make any sense logically for the Yankees. It's just Yankee fans being blind by the shiny toy. Fortran Express is right here when he says it does make sense. It gives us an upgrade at left field, and that it's really as long and the short of that. How can you be blind by the shiny toy when we need a left fielder? We need a guy that can give you an 800-plus OPS with 27 to 30 home runs a year that can play excellent outfield. That is what we need. That is exactly what our offense needs. So you convince me how that is somehow a bad trade. You're never going to convince me that, considering he's got like 3 or 4 years of control. He's young and he's cheap. We'd only give him about $6 million a year the next couple of years, and he's going to give you about 27 to 30 home runs and give you 800 OPS. He's going to bat around about 270, 280. It's a no-brainer, man. You get that done, you get that done in a heartbeat, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I'm not sure how much the Yankees were in on Soto, but I'm sure they checked in on a bunch of things.
They were in on Ohtani, actually.
They were very in on Ohtani, yeah.
Which I would imagine if we could add him, there's a DH. But again, we need a left fielder. So
Ohtani, man, like even if we did trade for him, do you imagine the contract we'd have to extend him to?
He's going to get $500 million next year.
Yeah, I think
that's minimum. That's the starting point in negotiations is 5.
He's a nuts player. He's great. You're gonna pay for 2 players essentially next year, especially if he has another season like last year. Yeah, he's getting $500 million.
So it is a beautiful day here in Westchester. Bright sunshine. I'm gonna go out and enjoy it. Once again, I thank everybody in the chat. It's always a pleasure. Li, you'll be lifted from the naughty step as long as you have a couple better takes next time. But it's all love. Thanks again for 4Train Express. He was killing it today. FJ, Brad, much appreciated. The chat was really, really good today. Let's keep it up for next week's show. Tats, any final thoughts?
Yeah, you want to thank everybody that's been in the chat, especially a lot of the content creators that have been kind of chiming in all throughout, and we've been kind of sharing each other's audiences and points of views. So don't forget, Friday at 4:00, 4Train Express on his show. His show will be live, and we will be with him on the show. So if you want to hear more takes between exchanges between us and Mazur at 4Train, tune in Friday at 4:00.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Rob, final thoughts?
Yeah, thanks everybody popping in. It's always fun. Li as well. Always fun hearing what you got to say and talking back and forth. Happy New Year, everybody, because we probably won't see you on this channel until the New Year breaks. But everybody be safe out there because the crazies come out. And let's go Yankees.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, everybody. As I say, happy holidays, happy New Year. We love your support, and we can't wait to give you more exciting content in 2023. So much love to you guys and your families. Let's go get it. And as Tats likes to say, we're your pinstripes with pride and play hard.